It's new, it's electric, it's Chinese, and it's just gone on sale here in the UK. This is the BYD Seal, and it is the second in the Ocean series of cars that the manufacturer offers here in the UK. The first was the Dolphin. Now this is the Seal. This is the second one to be introduced here. Now BYD, of course, is getting massive in the EV sector. It's soon going to overtake Tesla without any doubt, if it hasn't done already, as one of the biggest players in the world when it comes to electric vehicles. Now this thing actually comes in two flavors in the UK. You get a rear-wheel drive version with 313 brake horsepower. That's about 45,700 pounds. And then you get this one, which is all-wheel drive with a staggering 530 brake horsepower, thanks to two motors, and it will do 0 to 62 miles per hour in 3.8 seconds. You know how I know that? Because it says so on the back. Yeah, that's what the badge actually means. By the way, the rear-wheel drive will also do a pretty respectable 0 to 62 time of about 5.9 seconds. And both cars are actually limited to 112 miles per hour top speed. Now, this one is 48,700 pounds. Frankly, for the extra performance and the security of all-wheel drive, especially in this weather, I'd go for this one. If you're spending that sort of money, just spend that extra money, get this one. Right. So we're going to have a look at this. We'll take a walk around. Now, I've got to be honest, it's very dirty. Forgive me for that. I've had the car 5 days. It has rained every single day. We've had a bit of a respite right now, but apparently it's going to rain again very soon. I did get it washed, but it's dirty again. But I will have manufacturer footage overlays on here so you can see the car. But we'll still have a look around and we'll look at the practicality. And of course, we'll take it for a drive.
A brown car guy. Brown car guy.
So this is based on the company's new platform. They're calling it E-Platform 3.0, and it's the first to have what they call cell-to-body technology. And that basically means that the battery is fully incorporated into the structure of the car, so it actually forms part of the rigidity of the car's frame itself. So the battery on this thing is the now well-known BYD Blade technology battery. So that's how the cells are laid out. So it makes it more compact. And this is an 82.5 kilowatt hour battery. It's capable of 150 kilowatt DC fast charging. It gives you a 323 mile claimed range. Although the rear wheel drive gives you a little bit more. It's 354 mile range. For those who are concerned about that sort of thing, this one is cobalt free. It doesn't use any cobalt in the battery. Now, if you're wondering about the dimensions of this thing, it's about 4,800 millimeters in length, 1,875 millimeters in width, and 1,460 millimeters in height. It weighs about 2,185 kilogram, while the rear-wheel drive is slightly lighter. That's 2,055 kilograms. That's about the size or the weight of an SUV these days anyway. You see, it has the door handles that actually pop out when you press the little button to lock and unlock it. It's got NFC, which is smart key technology, but we're all used to that nowadays. Now, the other thing about this car is that because of the compact battery, it actually results in a 10 millimeter lower height than would otherwise be possible for an EV of this type. As you know, the floors tend to be quite thick in the EVs because the battery pack is in there. But in this one, you can see it actually is pretty much like a regular car. So there's not actually that much difference between this and a normal ICE car. Check out the sleek shape of this thing. Honestly, I think it's a pretty good looking car there. It's smooth and you can see that it's slippery, but also get this, it's got a drag coefficient of just 0.219 CD. And believe you me, that's quite extraordinary. So check out these headlights. I don't know why that's flashing. Must be the setting on the camera. I can't figure out how to change it, but it does. It's not in real life. It's not actually flashing. So what you have here is you have these, what they call the W floating LED headlights. And down here, I've turned the lights on, obviously. Down here, they have these, what they call the glistening ripple effect daytime running lights, which are supposed to mimic ocean waves. So check out these sort of shark fin type gills, and of course these quite crazy wheels. Now this is quite interesting because this is textured there, and then this is two-tone colored, and these are actually 19-inch rims, and you've got Continental Eco Contact 6Q tires on there. Now at the back there is a light bar, and check these lights out. These taillights are supposed to be inspired by the gentle patter of water droplets. Yeah, I know they've gone off. It does that. Anyway, they do look nice. And at the bottom here, obviously no exhaust pipes, but you have this quite extraordinarily aggressive looking rear diffuser. Now, if you're wondering what that is, that's actually the boot release. There's the camera. This thing has got loads of cameras. So before I show you the boot, there's a camera there. There's a camera just under the mirror there, and of course there's a camera at the front here just above the number plate. It's also got ultrasonic sensors and radars. It gives you a full 360-degree camera, as I'll show you inside. Let's take a look at the boot. As it opens up, it's powered. Yep, you don't have to do anything. And there you go. It's quite a deep boot, actually. It's not too bad, and all the cables and stuff are here, but also there is actually a cavity under here, so you could put them down there if you wanted to. It does have split folding rear seats. It's interesting the way you can just see the edge of the trim there. It does have a speaker here, a woofer speaker, I'm guessing, on one side, not on the other. On the other side, there is netting, but otherwise reasonably practical. And like I said, split folding seats as well. So again, just to close it, you just do that. Now check this out. Not only does it close, but it's got soft closing. Wow. Now that's not the only space it's got. In fact, now this has been proving a bit fiddly, but if you do that and do it twice, I should have opened the front. Nope, I haven't. Let's do it again. Told you it was fiddly. There you go. That's now open. And in here, you have a 53 litre. So the boot itself was 400 litres in space. Over here, you got another 53 litre space to put stuff in, put your shopping and stuff like that. So in total, you got 453 litres of space, plus, of course, the split folding seats if you need more. So let's check out what the rear space is like. And yeah, unfortunately, I will have to get that a little dirty. Hope BYD don't mind, but there you go. This seat is set for me because I've been driving it. Now I've got it switched on, as you can see. Now the reason I've got it switched on is because when you switch it off and you open the door, the seat goes back. So it does that thing where it gives you more space to get in and out. So I've got it on so that the seat goes back into my position. So with the seat in my position, 6'2" with long legs, as you can see, there's still plenty of room for knees. So it's pretty roomy back here. Plenty of room for knees, no issue whatsoever. This one, no issue whatsoever. The feet are a little bit tight. So the feet are a little bit tight. Again, this seat is set lower because, you know, I'm tall, but maybe it was set a little bit higher like that one is. That one's a little bit higher. But so just in that case, the feet are tight, but it's not too much of a problem because like you can still get them in there. Very, very nice design to the seats. Look at that. I love the shape. And also the other thing about sitting back here, it's hard to make it out on a camera, but if I can express it to you, because of this huge window here, this, I mean, they call it a panoramic glass sunroof, but I'm just going to call it a window. Obviously it's got protection, so it's slightly tinted and, you know, protects your skin and all that, but it lets in a lot of light. And the sensation of this, is that full widescreen? Yeah, it's full. The sensation of this is a very large, capacious, airy interior. So that's really handy. You've got adjustable seat belts, you've got hook here, you've got your lights there, which is touch on, touch off. Nice bit of trim here. This is velour type material. Now the leather in here is vegan leather. Again, I don't know why people manufacturers insist on using vegan leathers, because they want to sound like, oh, sustainability and all that. But the reality is, as the people that actually deal with leather, the Leather Association says, with the amount of meat that we consume, it's actually more ecologically friendly to consume, to use actual leather rather than that leather getting dumped. So actually you should use real leather. But anyway, it's got vegan leather. So anybody that has objection to using animal stuff, this is leather, but it's vegan leather. It's got a diamond quilted pattern on there. BYD is inscribed into there. It's got the Isofix Charles C anchor points, 2 cup holders there. And back here you've got a little pocket there, 2 vents, and what's this? Oh yes, you have USBs. So you have a full USB and you have a USB-C as well there, which we also get in the front as well. So that means actually, in fact, altogether you get 2 in the front, 2 in the back, 4, but 2 of each type. And this is a nice bit of touch here, nice bit of design touch there, very cool. So it's all very nice back here. What about the front? Let's find out. I'll close that. Right then, here we are. I'm trying to not make it too messy in here, but it's the weather. Sorry, BYD. So here we are inside the car. Like I said, the car is running, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it off. So here's the button. So I'm going to turn it off so that you can see the startup. If I open the door, right, there we go. You saw that. So you see how that moved back, and then I close it, it moves up again. I mean, it's quite a bit of distance actually. So now, foot on the brake, starter button is down here, and you press it, and then this is what happens. So you got the little droplets of water and stuff like that. And then it asks you to enable an app. I haven't downloaded the app, but obviously if you're an owner, you would do that. Let me turn the fan speed down. So it's very good. So you can straight away go into all of this information right here. And from here, you can do demisting, which I needed yesterday actually. So I was able to go in here and it was pretty quickly because mostly it was very, very good. And it kept a good control automatically by itself. But at one point I was on the motorway and I slowed down and suddenly everything misted up. But I was able to go in here and so you could do the front and the rear, including the wing mirrors, and it sorted everything out very quickly. Air purification, now this is very interesting. Let me show you this one. So this has actually got a particulate filter. So all this discussion about, you know, a certain mayor in a certain capital city of England said that the most dangerous place for people was actually in their car because they were breathing particulates. And I was always confused as to why manufacturers haven't taken umbrage at that and actually taken legal action because of all the filtration systems that are in modern cars. So this one, for example, has got a PM 2.5 detection and filter. So what it's telling you now is that it's saying that there's 22 or 20 PM particulate emissions outside, but in here they've cut it by more than a half. Actually, that's quarter, dropped to 5 there at one point. So it's got air purifications, AC settings, it's got heated seats. The funny thing about the, oh, it's gone into here now. So funny thing about the heated seats is that you have to go into here to actually get to the heated seats. And you've got heated steering wheel as well. And you can see all of it here. Now, let's go back to the home screen. Now, I've jumped straight into the screen. I might as well take a bit of time because this is very complicated because there's all these things. And also the other thing is that it does that famous trick that BYDs have is they have this is a 15.6 inch screen, but it rotates. So you can have it this way or you can have it this way. If you use Apple CarPlay, it will automatically go into this mode, into landscape mode, because it doesn't do it with portrait mode. This is the surging wave style dashboard that they got. Look at that multi. So they got leather, soft leather, like, well, kind of, yeah, soft touch, yeah. And you got the more plastic bit there. You got the vents hidden in there, nice bit of trim there. Look at that, interesting design. Then you got this sort of felt texture there. Again, it also curves really nicely into the door. Again, we've got the quilted design on here. And so going back to the screen, so just putting it back into the other mode, which can be done from here. On the steering wheel, you've got obviously the BYD, you've got all the controls for your cruise control, which I haven't really tried. And then you've got your voice control and all of this sort of stuff there, volume and mode and all that. I'll come back to that in a minute. So in here, on the main screen, you get navigation, which is very good. I used that all of yesterday to navigate my way all around London, and it was very good. The only thing I would say is that the navigations are only here. They're not on the heads-up display. This one has the head-up display. They're not on the head-up display. I don't know if you can make it out. You can just about make it out. And they don't come up on here, but you do hear them. So that's quite good. And they keep telling you where the school zones are. I think it's tied into Google Maps. I'm not sure. So you get that. And then you got Spotify, which you have to sign into to use, so that's quite good. And you got DAB. I've got to say the DAB was not very good. Honestly, it just kept cutting out, and I just had to give up with it. And the advantage is that you go in here and you could just use the radio.
This is a bit weird, isn't it?
And then the other thing is you can press the button down. There's a volume button here and a volume button here. And in both cases, if you press it down, you can mute and you can also darken the screen as well if you want to. So there you go. So let's just go. So you can mute, believe me, you can. So you got your Apple Auto, you got your smart charging. It tells you all about that. You know, you can set the timings and all of that. So if you're doing it at home, variety theme, just changing the background colors and stuff like that to whatever you like. So you can personalize it. Settings are in there. Including some vehicle settings, so fan reduction speeds, purification, vehicle health, tells you the maintenance and the driver assist systems, intelligent cruise control, system settings, so all of that is there. I mean, there's a lot to it. I mean, we could spend the rest of this review just talking about this. I want to show you, obviously, the images, the 360-degree image that you get all around the car. We could literally do that. So, but let's not do that. Let's talk about the rest of the car as well. You've got your instrument panel here. I think that's 10.5. I can tell you exactly. I've got it written down. And this is a 10.25 instrument screen. And again, this is only configurable in the sense that you can, with these buttons here, you can choose what you want to keep on the display. So whether it's a tire pressure, and you've got your numbers there, what is actually happening to the car in terms of which motor is running and whether the battery is charging or whatever. I've just kept it on here. I've got 9.4 hours I've already done behind the wheel. I did a full circuit of London yesterday. That's why it's down to 31%. It was at 86%. I covered about 115 miles yesterday and I've still got 88 miles in there. So there was no range anxiety at all. It performed really well, particularly in traffic, but we're going to get into the review later on. In the steering wheel, like I said, you got this, you got flat bottom steering wheel. It's quite nice to hold. It is rake and reach adjustable. You've got all your window controls there. This is for the boot, and down here, obviously, as I showed you before, was for the front. Over here, you got wireless charging, 2 of them, so that's quite handy. And under here, you got a pocket, and under there is where you've got the 12-volt power supply, and you've got your plugs as well. Actually, is that 3 in there? I couldn't see because I can't get down this, but now I put the camera down there, it looks like there's actually 3 plugs in there, so 4 altogether, so that's quite handy. Then you've got your cup holders, and then you've got a deep cubby box. So there you go, and then you've got your mirror, and up here you've got, again, the lights as well. So quite nice, actually, quite solid, quite strong, quite good quality. Feels like it's really, really good. Oh, you got child Isofix anchors at the front as well, in the front seats as well. So, I mean, like I said, we could go on and on and on about this stuff. Maybe I should just give you a few bits. You got the crystal button here. Here are the modes. Oh, yeah, so it should tell you the modes. So the modes are here. So you got Eco, Sport, and Normal. I drove it in Normal the whole time yesterday. I haven't been out in Sport yet because it was all in town. And you've got the 4th mode is the Snow mode, which is that one. But it doesn't actually do anything to the screen there, so it's just there you go, put it back into normal, and that's fine. And that's your climate control there. This thing also has a heat pump, so it's quite efficient in that sense. And like I said, with the driver assist system, the auto braking, adaptive cruise control, lane departure assist, rear cross traffic alert, auto braking, all the usual stuff. Anyway, enough of all that, let's take it for a drive. So we're on a little bit of a dual carriageway section. We're doing about, well, we can get up to about 70 actually on here. I've got it in normal mode. And whilst we're doing this bit, all right. Whilst we're doing this bit, this normal bit, where it's very smooth, no wind noise, ride is very smooth, very straightforward, performance not an issue. I'll talk a little bit about some of the city driving.
Slight left.
I'll talk about some of the city driving that I've done in this car. Yeah, I can reduce her a little bit. So in the meantime, I can talk about some of the city driving that I have been doing in this car, because I've done quite a bit. And around town, it actually proved very, very good. Both in terms of range, because it wasn't actually using that much range until we actually got out onto some fast roads. And also in terms of just drivability, it was just a very comfortable, very easy car to drive. And the controls are very easy to use. The 360 camera, so as soon as you hit the indicator, so even if you're at a junction or something like that and you put the indicator on, the 360 camera comes on straight away. So it immediately shows you all around the car, so you get that visibility. And plus there's a button right here on the steering column on the left spoke, which also, as soon as you hit that, the 360 bird's eye view comes into play, and you can see all around the car, and you can also see the curb and stuff like that. So even for width restrictions, you know, it could be helpful, because, you know, I did encounter a couple of very tight width restrictions, but got through them okay. And that's just the hazards of driving in London. And again, that brings us to the size of the car. Actually, just to complete on visibility, the view out the front is great, not really an issue, but at the back, that rear window is quite slot-like. It's quite narrow and it's quite slot-like. So that presents a problem if you're trying to do a whole looking over your back thing. But again, when you're maneuvering and stuff like that, you've got the cameras to help you, so it becomes less of an issue. But if you're like me, if you're old school and you want to just look over your shoulder and stuff like that, then yeah, you find that a little bit restrictive in terms of visibility out the back. So that could be a little bit of an issue. But other than that, it's fine. In terms of the size, like I was saying, it's actually quite a good size. So it's not really a problem. It's like a decent size. It's got presence, it's got sort of, you know, substance to it. But at the same time, it's not too bulky and cumbersome that it becomes an issue driving it around. The other thing to talk about is I spent a lot of time behind the wheel. In fact, according to the clock on the dashboard, because it tells you your driving time, it's saying 10.8 hours. So I spent a lot of time in this seat. Now, two things I'll say about it. First of all, it was quite difficult to get a comfortable seating position, and it slides far back and you feel like you're really far away, and then when you close the door, when you start it, then of course then it comes back to your seating position, but then it still feels, I mean, it's got a lot of leg room. So the proportion of leg room to the upper part is quite, I don't know, it's a little bit weird in this car, and it took me a long time to find a comfortable seating position. I like to sit fairly 90 degrees, fairly upright, but you know, it was really difficult to get it. But having said that, the seat itself, having spent all that time in the seat, it was very comfortable. It's very comfortable, it's very supportive. I mean, it's good support on the sides. There is lumbar support buttons and stuff like that you can also use. So that's quite good. And good headrest positioning as well. So I can't really complain about the comfort at all. It was just getting the position right in the first instance took longer than anticipated. And then of course you've got to ask about the controls, because of course everything is here on the screen and it's all digital.
At the end of the road, turn left.
And you know, sometimes you want a bit of haptic feel. Well, you do have buttons on here. The main thing is the volume control. There's one on the steering wheel and there's one here in the center console. And
100 yards at the end of the road, turn left.
That's quite handy. The buttons are quite there. The gear lever, the little crystal gear lever, I have a couple of times inadvertently put it into neutral when I've been waiting at a traffic light or something, and suddenly wondering why am I not moving, and then realize that I've done that. So that's kind of weird, but that's just a quirk, or maybe I was just leaning on it as I was controlling something on the screen. Now the screen itself, I've pretty much kept it in the landscape mode. I did for a while put it into the portrait mode. I thought that would be the way to do it, but actually I think I prefer it in landscape, even though the steering wheel just slightly obscures the right side of it, but it hardly makes any difference. So that seems to be the preferable way to do it. Assessing the controls on here, because it's such a big screen and it's so responsive to the touch, and it's easy to just slide along it, as you saw earlier, it's quite easy to access all the things, but it does take a while to get to know it. You really need to get to know the car and get to know all of the controls and all of the little buttons, all the functions and what they do, etc, etc. So that's one of the things you got to keep in mind. Now the other thing to remember about this car is the power. 530 horsepower. Now to be honest with you, I haven't really had much opportunity to deploy it. It's just driving around town. That's a lot of horsepower. You get up to speed really, really quickly. So I haven't really had the opportunity. Now, the advantage of it though is that when you're at a junction or at a roundabout, wet or dry, that you're gonna punch out into that so quickly that it won't even matter. So if you see a gap, you're like, I'm going for it, because that's not an issue, and it's there straight away. So you've got the modes, and I've pretty much driven it in normal mode the whole time, so of course the performance is still there. Even in normal mode, it's still there, so you still get that. But the other thing that you might be thinking is, well, is it a scary car to drive with 530 horsepower? Now, because in the past, when you drive cars with that sort of power, invariably you're talking about something like a V8, V12 maybe, it's one of those cars where you will constantly feel that you have a powerful car. You will know it all the time you're driving that car, even when you're just pottering around, because the engine will be rumbling away and the steering will be kind of the accelerator pedal will be kind of hypersensitive and all of that. So you'll be very, very conscious the whole time that you're driving an internal combustion engine car with 530 horsepower that it's a 530 horsepower car. And for me, I love it. I live for that sort of stuff. But for a lot of people that could be intimidating. Now the thing about this is you're thinking, well, it's too powerful, I don't want to drive it. However, that's not the case with this car, because in this car there's no chance, unless there's something wrong with your right foot or your ankle, there's no chance of accidentally deploying all of that power. It just drives so normally, sedately. You just drive it like a normal car, and really just normal everyday driving. There is no inkling, to be honest with you, there's no actual inkling of the tremendous acceleration and power that lurks beneath. There isn't. So you don't have to worry about accessing that sort of performance inadvertently. It just won't happen. It will only happen when you want it. A weird thing about this car, and if I'm wrong, correct me, somebody out there, I'm sure will correct me in the comments, but there doesn't seem to be a one pedal mode. And that's, and I understand that, because a lot of people kind of put off by that. A lot of people don't understand it. A lot of people aren't comfortable using it. But personally, I like one pedal modes in EVs. One pedal mode, if you don't know, is literally like when you lift off the accelerator, the car starts slowing. It almost applies braking. It does apply braking actually, because it applies regenerative braking. And in some ways, some of those one pedal cars, like especially around town and stuff, you can literally just drive them on the one pedal. Your brake is there, but you hardly ever need it. And I quite like that. This one doesn't have that. It doesn't appear to have that. There's no way I can see to activate that. So it is recouping, it is regen, because there is a dial there's a display on the instrument panel, and you can see the charge indicator, and it shows you eco, and it goes into top, that's power, that's all red, and then below that it goes into green. So now I'm slowing down, you can see it's -5, -7 kilowatt, which means it's basically charging at that point. But it's not doing the extreme one pedal thing that a lot of EVs do. A little bit of an open stretch here. I'm gonna put it into sport. And it's, I'm at 30 miles an hour. I'm just gonna punch. Aha! Okay, that's quick. I mean, there is actually slight moments hesitation before it goes, oh, you wanted full power? And it goes, all right, here you go. And then it goes, whoomp, So it can be quite shocking if you're not used to it, but it's there. So in terms of handling, I mean, again, there's no feel for the steering. You don't get that these days, but the steering is responsive. The fact is that it's obviously planted. It's got all-wheel drive, so it's got good grip. So that isn't really a problem. And the responsiveness is not bad at all. Fair amount of confidence. I wouldn't say that it's a sports car. I wouldn't say that it's at that level, but I would say that it's a very fast Grand Tourer. Put it that way. It's that sort of car. It's a fast Grand Tourer sort of car. Good brakes, quite progressive. Now when you put it into sports mode, which I've just done, I think the steering weights up a little bit, and I think the performance becomes more aggressive. So I think that's where it does. There's also a mode in there for brake, which I don't know because I see it, if you go into settings, you find it, but I don't know if it selects it automatically when you go into sports mode. So that's interesting. But otherwise, yeah, really, really good, quite responsive. But the heating on this thing, it's got that heat pump thing. I keep having to fiddle with it. So it's not one of those set it and forget it. Sometimes it's either too hot or it's too cold. I keep finding myself fidgeting with it, but fortunately the button is just down here, so you just press that and instantly you've got access to the temperature, and then you can just go forward and back with the temperature, no problem at all. As for the ride, it's very good in this car, particularly when you consider that with EVs, I always find that they're a little bit rigid, a little bit hard, and that I always put it down to either the fact that they've got the EV tires, or the fact that the battery platform makes them really, really rigid. Now this one, you do also get that rigidity. You get that real slower body strength. You can actually feel that in the way the car moves, but you don't get the harshness that you sometimes get. So maybe the way that they've integrated the battery and the cell structure, which they say is a first for this car and this sort of platform, maybe that really helps in that. Also, I mean, 19-inch wheels on this car, so not ridiculous 20s or 21s, but 19s. But 19s are still big, but and they certainly look big enough, but maybe that also helps a little bit. But yeah, I mean, you can hear the bum thump now and the roads around London are just terrible now, especially with all the rain that we've been having. There's just potholes everywhere, as you can see. But you can hear it, and you get a little bit of a judder, but most of the time it just smooths it out and it keeps it very well. But the main thing is that there isn't that rough harshness that you sometimes get with EVs. So in that sense, again, very, very smooth. To conclude with this car, a really good offering in the EV segment. Another very, very good car from BYD. BYD are just rocketing right now, and you can see why. I mean, the cars are really well done, they're really well made, they're really intuitive, and they sort of answer all of your needs when it comes to transport, particularly with EVs. And they add a little bit of extra in terms of the style and the performance and all of that sort of stuff. So there's, you know, so there's something to be said for that as well. But you can see certainly why, you know, BYD will be taking sales off the Tesla, for example, and I think that they're certainly a force to be reckoned with. And with cars like this definitely going ahead, I think more and more people will definitely flock to them. They just bring that price point down a little bit more. I think that would be great. Hope you enjoyed that video. Let me know your comments on the BYD Seal or anything else, and I'll catch you all in the next review.
Brown car guy.
Hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, please hit the like button and share this video as well if you can. And while you're at it, check out these guys who also sponsor my content. I am deeply grateful to them because it helps me to buy new equipment, put fuel in the cars, and yes, buy a cup of coffee. You can do the same. Just go here or right here on YouTube. Just hit these three little dots down here and click on thanks. Make sure you're signed in first. My content is free, but this is how you can help me keep it that way. I may even send you a gift. Oh, by the way, watch this next.